They thought they buried you. They thought the darkness would consume you, swallow you whole, and silence your voice forever. But what they didn't know, what they could never understand, was that the darkness was never your enemy. It was your beginning. They tried to smother your light, to drown you in shadows so deep you'd forget the way forward. They told you that you weren't enough, that your dreams were foolish, that your strength was a lie. And maybe, for a moment, you believed them. Maybe you let their words seep into your bones, poisoning your will, making you question everything you once knew about yourself. How many nights did you sit alone, wrestling with the weight of their doubt? How many mornings did you wake up feeling like you were running on empty, dragging yourself through a world that never seemed to notice you were there? You've felt invisible, haven't you? Like no matter how hard you scream, no one listens. No one sees the battles you fight behind closed doors. They only see the mask, the one you wear so well, the one that tells the world, "I'm fine," when you are anything but. And yet, they have the audacity to call you weak, as if waking up every day and facing this world isn't an act of defiance. You've been pushed, knocked down, left behind. They laughed when you stumbled, celebrated when you failed. And the worst part, some of them weren't even strangers. Some of them were people you trusted, people you loved, people who should have lifted you up but instead watched as you fell, never once reaching out their hand to pull you back. The betrayal stung more than the failure. It wasn't just the world that turned its back, it was the ones you thought would stand beside you. But listen to me. Right now, in this moment, everything changes. Because I'm not here to remind you of your pain. I'm here to remind you of your power. I know what they told you, I know what they made you believe, but I need you to hear this. They were wrong. Every single one of them. The people who said you'd never make it, the voices that whispered you weren't enough, the doubts that have haunted you like shadows in the night, they were all wrong. They mistook your silence for surrender. They thought your scars were signs of defeat. But scars don't mean you lost. Scars mean you survived. And survival, that's where the story truly begins. Do you feel that? That fire in your chest? It never left. It was never extinguished. It was only waiting for you. Waiting for the moment you would stop listening to the voices that tried to break you and start listening to the one voice that has been fighting for you all along, your own. Because somewhere, beneath all the noise, beneath all the pain, is the real you, the one who refuses to be defined by failure, the one who isn't afraid to rise, the one who was never meant to stay in the dark because you were always the light. They pushed you down thinking you would never stand again, but what they didn't realize is that the fall was never your ending, it was your momentum. The deeper they buried you, the stronger your roots became. The more they tried to extinguish you, the brighter you learned to burn. You are not the victim of their story, you are the architect of your own. And now you have a choice to make. Are you going to let them be right? Are you going to stay in the shadows they built for you, whispering regrets into the night? Or are you going to stand up and prove to them, to yourself, to this world that you are unstoppable? That no amount of darkness could ever consume you, because you don't just endure the night, you become the dawn. This is not a gentle reminder. This is not a soft-spoken encouragement. This is a call to war, a battle cry for your own soul. Because the world is not going to hand you your worth. It will not give you permission to be great. You have to take it. You have to demand it. You have to rise no matter how many times they try to drag you back down. You have to fight like hell for the life you deserve. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you a map and show you the way. But that's okay, because you don't need a savior. You don't need permission. You already have everything you need. The fire inside you, the will to rise, the courage to step forward even when your legs shake beneath you. This is your moment. This is your awakening. And when they look at you now, when they see the fire in your eyes, let them tremble. Let them understand that they never should have doubted you. Let them watch as you step into your power, unbreakable, because they tried to push you into the dark. But they failed to realize you were always the light. They tell you to be strong. They tell you to keep going. But they have no idea what it feels like to wake up every morning with the weight of the world pressing against your chest, like an anchor dragging you deeper into a place you never chose to be. You know the feeling, don't you? The hollow ache of existing in a world that barely notices you. You move through the crowd, but it's like you don't even exist. People walk past you, laugh around you, build their lives beside you, but not with you. You've been abandoned before, left behind, forgotten. Maybe it was a friend, a family member, someone you trusted, someone you loved. Maybe it was the world itself, turning its back on you when you needed it the most. And yet they still have the nerve to tell you to be strong, as if strength comes easy when your soul is screaming for help. But no one listens. Or worse, they hear you, but they pretend not to. How many nights have you spent lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering why? Why does it feel like no matter how much you give, it's never enough? Why does it seem like you are the one always fighting, always struggling, while others move through life so effortlessly? You watch them succeed, watch them smile, watch them live, and it burns, not because you hate them, but because you wonder why life never handed you the same grace. You wonder why every step forward feels like dragging chains behind you. But the truth is, it was never about fairness. Life was never fair. The world was never designed to be kind to you. And you've learned that the hard way. You remember the moments, the ones that cut the deepest, the people who looked at you and decided you weren't enough. The words they spoke, sharp like knives, lodging themselves into your mind and replaying over and over. You'll never make it. You're a failure. You're not strong enough. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. And maybe, just maybe, there was a time when you believed them. Because how could you not? When every time you tried to rise, something or someone was always there to push you back down. When every effort, every dream, every piece of hope you clung to was met with rejection, doubt, and silence. You tried, you really did. But the world wasn't ready to believe in you, and so, at some point, you stopped believing in yourself. They mocked you. They laughed when you stumbled, whispered behind your back when you failed, and watched in amusement when you tried to get back up. They doubted you. They told you to stay in your lane, to stop dreaming so big, to be realistic. And when you did try, when you put everything on the line, they were the first to remind you of every mistake, every shortcoming, every reason why you should just give up. And maybe, just maybe, you almost did. Maybe you reached that breaking point. Maybe you looked in the mirror one day and didn't recognize the person staring back at you. Maybe you questioned if any of this was even worth it, if fighting, if pushing, if trying was even worth it anymore. Because what's the point, right? What's the point of fighting for a world that never fought for you? The villains of your story are real. They are the voices that told you to stay small, the people who dismissed you, the so-called friends who disappeared the moment you needed them, the failures that piled up so high you couldn't see past them, the fears that wrapped themselves around your throat, suffocating your dreams before they ever had a chance to breathe. And worst of all, the voice inside your own mind, the one that whispers all your worst fears, the one that feeds off your insecurities, the one that has convinced you that maybe, just maybe, they were right about you all along. Because that's the worst kind of pain, isn't it? Not the rejection, not the mockery, not the failure. The worst pain is when you start to believe them, when their voices become your voice, when their doubts become your doubts, when the fight isn't just against the world anymore, it's against yourself. And that is the hardest battle of all. Because how do you fight something that lives inside you? How do you escape a prison built by your own mind? You've tried. You've told yourself to think positively, to ignore the negativity, to just be happy. But it doesn't work like that, does it? Because this isn't about happiness. This isn't about pretending everything is okay. This is about survival. And right now, you are barely surviving. You wake up every day feeling like you're running on empty. You go through the motions, wear the mask, pretend everything is fine, but deep down, you're exhausted. Exhausted from fighting battles no one sees. Tired of being strong for everyone but yourself. Sick of proving yourself over and over again, only to have the world look at you with indifference. And maybe you've thought about giving up. Maybe you've considered just letting go. Not because you're weak, but because you're tired. Because no one ever told you how hard it would be. No one ever warned you that the climb would feel this endless. But here's what they never told you. They never told you that every great warrior, every unstoppable force, every unbreakable soul was once where you are right now. They never told you that strength isn't born in comfort, it's built in struggle. That fire isn't ignited in ease, it's forged in battle. That every scar you carry, every wound you've endured, every moment of pain you've suffered wasn't proof of your weakness, it was shaping you into something stronger than they could ever imagine. They don't see it yet, but they will. Because here's what they don't realize. You were never meant to stay down. You were never meant to be silent, to be small, to live in the shadows of your own life. You were never meant to accept the role they wrote for you, because you were always destined for more. They tried to convince you otherwise. They tried to make you believe that this was it, that this was all you'd ever be. But they made one fatal mistake. They underestimated you. And soon they will see exactly what kind of mistake that was. Because the moment you decide that enough is enough, the moment you realize that no one, no voice, no doubt, no failure, no rejection can define you, that is the moment everything changes. That moment is coming, and when it does, you will be unstoppable. You wake up, but it doesn't feel like waking up. It feels like emerging from one nightmare into another, the kind of nightmare you can't escape because it's real, because it's yours. And you've been living in it for so long that you don't even know what life feels like without it. The world moves around you. People laugh, people love, people live. But you exist. You breathe in and out. You take steps forward. You play your role. But it's empty, isn't it? A script you never asked to be a part of. A reality you never had the chance to rewrite. You felt it creeping in, that suffocating numbness. The way the days blur together, the way every moment feels just like the last. You go through the motions, nod when you're supposed to, smile when expected, but deep down, you are screaming, and no one hears you. Or worse, they hear you, but they don't care. You've told yourself that maybe this is just how life is. Maybe happiness is for other people. Maybe peace is for those who haven't been broken. Those who haven't tasted the bitterness of rejection. Those who haven't been left behind. Maybe you were never meant for the kind of life you once dreamed of. Maybe you were meant to stay in the shadows, because that's what it feels like, doesn't it? Like you are just a shadow. You move through life unseen, unheard, unnoticed. You pass by people who look right through you, and at some point you start to wonder, am I even real? It's not just the world that ignores you, it's yourself. You've stopped caring the way you used to. The things that once set your soul on fire now barely spark a flicker of light. The dreams you once swore you'd chase now feel like distant memories of another life, another version of you. And the worst part, you don't even fight it anymore. Because fighting takes energy, and you are tired. Tired of trying, tired of hoping, tired of believing that things will change only to watch them stay exactly the same. Tired of getting back up just to be knocked down again. Tired of waiting for something, anything to finally go your way. And so slowly, without even realizing it, you start to let go. You stop hoping. You stop dreaming, you stop trying. Not because you don't want to, but because what's the point? No one sees the effort anyway. No one notices the battles you fight just to get through the day. No one cares how heavy the weight is on your shoulders, and so you just exist. That's what despair feels like. It's not always loud, it's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's just silence. A slow, creeping emptiness that settles into your bones and makes itself at home. It whispers in your ear, telling you that this is all you'll ever be, that this is your fate, that no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, you will never be enough. And a part of you believes it. Because how could you not, when the evidence is all around you, when every failure, every rejection, every moment of loneliness builds upon the last, proving over and over again that you were never meant for more. You sit in this darkness, in this space between giving up and holding on, and you wonder, is this it? Is this the rest of your life? Is this all there is? And if it is, then why keep going? Why keep fighting when every battle leaves you more wounded than before? No one ever told you that the hardest part of struggling isn't the pain itself. It's the exhaustion. The weight of carrying it for so long that you don't even remember what life felt like before it. You don't even remember who you were before the world taught you that you were unworthy. But let me tell you something no one else has dared to say. You are not unworthy. You are not invisible. You are not a mistake. And this is not the end of your story. I know it doesn't feel that way right now. I know it feels like you are stuck in a never-ending cycle of pain and disappointment. I know it feels like no matter what you do, nothing ever changes. But what if I told you that change has already begun? What if I told you that the very fact that you are still here, still breathing, still searching for something more is proof that you have not been defeated? What if I told you that the darkness was never your prison, it was your transformation? Because listen to me, right now, in this very moment, you are at a crossroads. You can choose to believe the lies. You can choose to accept the fate that's been handed to you. You can let the darkness convince you that this is all there is. Or you can decide right here, right now, that you are not done yet. That the battle is not over, that the fight inside you is not dead. It's just been waiting for you to realize that you were never meant to stay in the shadows. Waiting for you to remember that every struggle, every tear, every moment of doubt was not meant to break you. It was meant to build you. Because here's the truth they never told you. The strongest people are not the ones who never fell. They are the ones who kept rising. The most powerful souls are not the ones who never knew pain. They are the ones who conquered it. And you are one decision away from proving to the world and to yourself that you were never weak. You were just waiting for the right moment. And that moment is now. The flicker of hope is there. Do you feel it? It's small, it's fragile, but it's real. And the moment you choose to protect it, to nurture it, to believe in it, that is the moment everything begins to change. Because no matter how deep the darkness, no matter how strong the storm, light always finds a way. And you were always meant to be the light. You've spent so long believing that the darkness is where your story ends, that the weight pressing down on you is permanent, that this feeling of drowning in your own life, sinking deeper into the abyss, is just the way things are meant to be. But what if I told you that the darkness wasn't the end? What if I told you that the silence, the suffering, the moments of unbearable loneliness, what if they weren't a curse, but a transformation? You see, the world has lied to you. It has convinced you that pain is a dead end, that suffering is a prison, that once you've been broken, you can never be whole again. But that's not the truth. The truth is, something inside you has been growing all along, even in the moments you thought you had nothing left, even when you felt like giving up, even when you thought you had reached the end. Because pain does not exist to destroy you, it exists to forge you. Look at nature. Look at the trees that stand tall and unshaken by the fiercest storms. Do you know how they survive? Do you know what keeps them from falling when the winds rage and the skies scream? Their roots. And where do the strongest roots grow? In the darkest soil. You have been buried. You have been broken. You have been left in the cold, in the shadows, in the silence. But you have also been growing. Every tear, every scar, every sleepless night, it has all been feeding something inside you, something they can't see, something even you might not see yet. You thought you were lost, but you were really being prepared. You thought you were buried, but you were really planted. Because here's the thing about seeds. In the beginning, they are small, fragile, unnoticed. And when they are planted, they are covered in darkness. They are trapped beneath the soil, hidden from the world, pressed under the weight of the earth above them. But do they stay there? No, they grow, they rise, they push through the dirt, through the pressure, through everything that tries to hold them down, until one day they break through. And when they do, they reach for the sky. And that's you. You have spent too long believing that the darkness was meant to consume you. But what if it was only ever meant to make you stronger? What if every hardship, every rejection, every moment of despair was just another drop of water feeding the roots inside you? What if every setback was a lesson, every scar a story, every battle a reminder that you are still here, and that means you are still fighting? No one can take that from you. No one can steal your willpower unless you give it to them. No one can convince you to stay small unless you allow them to. And no one, not the world, not your past, not the people who doubted you, can stop you from rising unless you decide to stop yourself. Because the power has been inside you this whole time. They just made you forget. But now you remember. Now you start to see the truth. The darkness wasn't here to destroy you. It was here to wake you up, to remind you that everything you need is already inside you. The strength, it's inside you. The resilience, it's inside you. The fire, it has always been inside you. You do not need permission to stand back up. You do not need approval to fight for your life. You do not need anyone to tell you that you are worthy, because you already are, because you always were. They tried to break you, but all they did was build you. They tried to silence you, but all they did was give you something worth saying. They tried to push you into the darkness, but they didn't realize that you are the light. And light cannot be buried. Light cannot be contained. Light always finds a way. So the question is no longer if you can rise. The question is, are you ready? Are you ready to stop believing the lies? Are you ready to stop waiting for someone else to save you? Are you ready to stop playing small? To stop letting fear and doubt and the weight of the past keep you caged? Because this is the moment. This is the moment when you stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a survivor. This is the moment when you stop letting your past define you and start letting your future drive you. This is the moment when you stop waiting for change and become the change. Everything you have been through has led you to this point. Every moment of pain, every disappointment, every failure, it wasn't happening to you. It was happening for you. To shape you, to mold you, to prepare you, because what is coming next, it's going to demand the strongest version of you. And that version is ready. That version has been waiting. You've spent so long convincing yourself that you are weak, but weak people don't survive the things you have survived. Weak people don't keep fighting when everything is against them. Weak people don't keep going when all they want to do is quit. You are not weak, you are unstoppable. And now that you see it, now that you remember who you are, what will you do with it? Will you let this moment pass you by? Will you let yourself slip back into the old beliefs, the old patterns, the old doubts? Or will you take this fire, this strength, this unstoppable force inside you and set the world ablaze? Because the truth is, you've always had a choice. You've always had the power. You've just been waiting for someone to tell you that it's okay to use it. So here it is. Here is your permission. Go, rise, become, because you were never meant to stay in the dark. You were meant to be the light. Enough waiting, enough hoping that someone will come and lift you out of the darkness, enough carrying the weight of your past like a chain around your neck, enough replaying the words they said to you, the doubts they planted, the expectations they placed on your shoulders, enough letting them define you, enough allowing them to hold you back. Because you are not who they said you were. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not destined to live in the shadows. For too long, you have let them shape your story. You have let their words, their judgments, their rejection carve themselves into your mind like stone. But tell me, why do their voices matter more than yours? Why do their opinions carry more weight than what you know to be true? They told you that you weren't enough. They told you to be quiet. They told you to stay in your place, to not expect too much, to not fight for too much, to not dream beyond what they deemed acceptable. And you listened. You let the doubt seep into your soul. You let the fear hold you hostage. But here's what they never told you. Every time they pushed you down, they were only teaching you how to stand taller. Every time they tried to break you, they were sharpening your edges, forging you into something stronger, something unstoppable. Every scar, every failure, every rejection was not proof of your weakness. It was fuel. It was turning you into a force they never saw coming. Because now the script changes. Now you stop waiting for permission. Now you stop apologizing for wanting more. Now you stop looking at yourself through their eyes and start seeing yourself for who you truly are. A warrior, a fighter, a survivor. You have survived everything life has thrown at you. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment of despair. You are still here, and that means you are still standing. That means you have already proven something that they will never understand. You cannot be broken, because broken things don't keep fighting. Broken things don't rise from the ashes. Broken things don't take pain and turn it into power. And you are about to become the most powerful version of yourself they have ever seen. No more blaming them. No more waiting for them to change, for them to apologize, for them to fix what they did. Because this is not about them anymore. This is about you. This is about what you do next. This is about what you become when you decide right here, right now, that you are done being a prisoner to their opinion. This is the moment you take back your power. They doubted you. But now it's time for you to prove yourself to yourself. It's time to rise. No more looking at your pain as a burden. No more carrying your past as if it defines you. No more believing that your struggles are a curse. Because pain is fuel. Pain is power. Pain is a teacher. Do you know how fire is created? Pressure, intensity, heat. And do you know how the strongest warriors are made? Through struggle, through hardship, through the very battles you thought would destroy you, but they didn't destroy you. They made you. The world tried to convince you that struggle was a punishment, that failure was a sign to stop, that pain was a signal to give up. But warriors don't fear struggle. They don't run from pain. They embrace it. They take it and mold it into something unstoppable. And now you will do the same. You will take every single scar and wear it like armor. You will take every rejection and use it as motivation. You will take every tear you've cried and turn it into strength. Because the greatest power you have, it has been inside you all along. Your mind, your resilience, your ability to keep going even when everything inside you is telling you to stop. They told you that you were weak, but look at you. You are still here. You have been through hell and back, and yet you are still standing. Do you see it now? Do you feel it? That fire inside you? It never left. It was never extinguished. It was only waiting. Waiting for you to realize that you never needed anyone to save you. You were always the savior you were waiting for. And now, it's time to stop waiting. It's time to stop doubting. It's time to stop living like you don't matter, like your voice doesn't count, like your dreams don't deserve to be chased with everything you've got. It's time to move. It's time to build. It's time to take the pieces of your past, the ashes of everything you've been through, and create something new, something undeniable, something that makes the world stop and take notice. Because this is not where your story ends. This is where it begins. And this time, you are the one writing it. No more apologies, no more regrets, no more waiting for the world to recognize your worth. Because the world doesn't decide that. You do. So stand up, hold your head high. Step forward into your power. You were never meant to stay small. You were never meant to live in the shadows. You were never meant to be just another forgotten name in the background. You were meant to lead, to rise, to become. And the moment you decide that this is your time, your moment, your rebirth, nothing will ever stop you again. They tried to push you into the dark, but what they didn't realize is that the dark only made you stronger. And now? Now you are the light. Now you are unstoppable. Look at yourself. Not the version they forced you to be. Not the reflection that's been beaten down by doubt, rejection, and fear. Look deeper, past the scars, past the wounds, past the whispers that told you that you would never be enough. Do you see it? That fire inside you? It's been waiting for you to see what it already knows. That you were never weak, that you were never small, that you were never broken. They mistook your silence for surrender. They mistook your pain for weakness. They thought that if they pushed you down enough times, you would stay there. But they failed to understand something. You were never meant to stay down, because you are not fragile. You are not delicate. You are not something that can be erased, forgotten, or discarded. You are the storm they never saw coming. And storms don't ask for permission. They don't wait for acceptance. They arrive, they destroy, they rebuild, they reign. So tell me, are you ready to rise? Not just halfway, not just enough to survive, but to rise fully, to claim everything they said you never could, to become everything they feared you would be. Because the moment is now. This is the moment where you leave the past behind. Not because it didn't matter, not because it didn't shape you, but because it no longer defines you. This is the moment where you stop waiting for life to hand you a second chance, and instead, you take it. You take back control of your mind. You take back control of your power. You take back control of your story. Because for too long, your mind has been a battlefield. You've let the voices of doubt, the echoes of failure, the weight of the past dictate how you see yourself. But no more. You are the master of your own mind. You are the architect of your destiny. And that means you have the power to silence the doubt. You don't fight it with fear. You don't fight it with hesitation. You drown it out with action. Every time doubt tells you that you can't, you prove that you can. Every time fear tells you to stop, you push forward anyway. Every time the past whispers that you are not enough, you remind yourself that you have already survived everything meant to break you. And if you can survive that, you can survive anything. Because you are no longer just a fighter. You are a force. You rise, you fight, you become unstoppable. Say it. Say it until it becomes truth. Say it until your mind accepts it. Say it until every cell in your body believes it. You rise, you fight, you become unstoppable. This is not just motivation. This is not just a speech. This is your rebirth. This is the moment you shed the skin of who you once were and step fully into the version of yourself that was always meant to emerge. The version that does not apologize for wanting more. The version that does not wait for approval. The version that takes. Because power is not given. Respect is not handed out. Greatness is not awarded to those who wait. You take it. And when you do, they will see. They will see the fire in your eyes and understand that they never should have doubted you. They will see the storm rising behind you and realize that they never should have pushed you down. They will hear your voice, loud and unshaken, and know that they never should have silenced you. But this is not about them anymore. This is about you. This is about proving something. Not to the world, not to the doubters, not to the past, but to yourself. Because when you prove it to yourself, the world will have no choice but to recognize it. You rise, you fight, you become unstoppable. Say it again, louder, let it echo in your soul. You rise, you fight, you become unstoppable. Because you are done with playing small. You are done with shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You are done with carrying the weight of your past as if it is a sentence instead of a lesson. This is your time, this is your moment, and from this point forward, the only direction is forward. The only option is greatness. The only possibility is becoming everything you were meant to be. They pushed you into the dark, but now, you are the light. Look in the mirror. No, really, look. Not just a passing glance, not just the way you always do, with tired eyes and a heavy heart. Look deeper. Look into the eyes staring back at you and tell me, do you recognize them? Because that is not the same person who started this journey. That is not the person who once believed they were powerless. That is not the person who walked through life shackled to their past, haunted by doubt, weighed down by expectations they never agreed to carry. That person, they are gone. What stands in front of you now is something new, something reborn, something no longer willing to be held back by the limitations of yesterday. Do you feel it? The shift, the power humming beneath your skin, the fire burning in your chest, the quiet, unshakable certainty that says, I am not who I used to be. I will never be that person again. Because the chains are broken, the weight is lifted, you are finally free. And freedom, it doesn't come from waiting. It doesn't come from hoping the world will change. It comes from deciding, right here, right now, that you are done playing small. Because you were never small. They tried to convince you otherwise. They tried to keep you caged, to make you believe that the walls around you were permanent, that the limits they placed on you were real. But now you know the truth. The only limits that exist are the ones you choose to accept. And you You choose none. You are no longer crawling through the darkness begging for a sliver of light. You are the light. You do not wait for opportunities, you create them. You do not seek permission to rise, you take what is yours. You do not shrink yourself for the comfort of others. You stand tall, unapologetic, undeniable. This is what it means to step into power. It is not arrogance. It is not selfishness. It is ownership. Ownership of your mind. Ownership of your dreams. Ownership of the fire inside you that no one, no past, no failure, no rejection can extinguish. Look at the person you used to be. The one who doubted. The one who hesitated. The one who allowed fear to hold them back. Now, thank them. Because that version of you, they fought to survive. They endured the struggle so that this version of you could emerge. They carried the pain, the burdens, the heartbreak, so that one day you could stand here and finally say, I made it. And now, there is no going back. Because once you have tasted this kind of power, once you have stepped into this version of yourself, you will never again settle for less. You will never again pretend to be less than what you are. You will never again listen to the voices that tell you that you can't because you already have. You will never again allow fear to paralyze you because you have already walked through the fire and survived. You are a force now. You are a presence that cannot be ignored. You are the storm, the fire, the light that shatters every expectation they placed on you. And the world will have no choice but to take notice. Because from this moment forward, you move differently. You speak with conviction, you walk with purpose, you breathe with certainty. And those who doubted you, they will watch in silence, unable to comprehend how the person they once underestimated became unstoppable. But this is not about them. It never was. This is about you. This is about the version of you who finally understands their worth. The version of you who does not chase validation because they have already validated themselves. The version of you who leads, builds, creates, and dominates. This is not a fantasy. This is not an illusion. This is your reality, and from this day forward, the only question that matters is this: what will you do with it? Because now, you have no excuses. Now you know who you are. Now you understand the power that has been inside you all along, and now it's time to use it. Not tomorrow, not next week, not someday, now. Because the world is waiting to see what happens when someone who was meant to break rises instead. Waiting to witness the unstoppable force that has been forged in the fire. Waiting to feel the impact of someone who has finally embraced their power. And that someone, that is you. Unbreakable, unstoppable, unapologetically powerful. The old you is gone. The past has no hold on you. The darkness is behind you. And now, you rise. Everything that has brought you to this moment has prepared you for one decision. What happens next is up to you. No more waiting, no more hesitation, no more looking for signs or seeking permission. This is it. This is your defining moment. You have seen the darkness. You have fought battles no one else knows about. You have carried burdens that would have crushed anyone else. And yet, you are still here. You have risen, stronger than before, unshaken by the storms that tried to break you. And now, the question that remains is this: will you let this fire die, or will you ignite the world with it? Because now, there is no going back. You cannot unsee what you have seen. You cannot unknow what you now know. You have felt your own power. You have stood at the edge of despair and chosen to fight. That choice cannot be undone. And so, I ask you, what will you do with it? Will you let this moment be just another fleeting surge of motivation? Just another whisper of hope that fades when life gets hard? Or will you let it consume you? Will you let this fire burn so deeply inside you that it fuels every step you take from this day forward? The choice is yours, and before you make it, let me tell you something most people will never dare to say. This is not going to be easy. There will still be struggles, there will still be obstacles, there will still be moments where you are tested, where you are tempted to fall back into old patterns, old fears, old doubts. But this time you will be different, because now you know that every challenge is a chance to grow. Every setback is a setup for a greater comeback. Every moment of doubt is a battle you are strong enough to win. And so, when the world tries to push you down again, you will not crumble. When fear whispers in your ear, you will not listen. When life throws its hardest punches, you will not fall, because now you have no excuses. Now you have no limits. Now you know that nothing and no one can take your power unless you let them. And you will never let them. So here's what you do next. You stop overthinking. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop letting fear dictate the course of your life. And you act. Right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not someday, now. Because nothing changes until you change it. No dream is realized until you chase it. No power is harnessed until you claim it. So make the decision. Decide that you are done playing small. Decide that you are done apologizing for your ambition. Decide that you are done carrying the weight of expectations that were never yours to bear. Decide that this is your time. Because here's the truth. The world will not wait for you. Opportunities do not come knocking. They are created. Success does not chase you. It is earned. And greatness? Greatness is not something you are given. It is something you become. And now the only thing left to do is to become it. So go. Take every lesson you've learned, every battle you've fought, every ounce of pain that has shaped you, and turn it into fuel. Step forward into your destiny. Walk like someone who knows their worth. Speak like someone who commands respect. Move like someone who is unstoppable, because that is exactly who you are now. And when the world looks at you, when they see the fire in your eyes, when they feel the unshakable force that you have become, they will finally understand. They tried to push you into the dark, but the dark only made you stronger. And now, you are the light they can never extinguish.